Hello, my friends. How are you all doing? Today is Tuesday, October 15th. My name is Olivia, and this is my YouTube channel, Pumpkin Hollow Quilts. Today's video is going to be a cross-stitch update video, so if that sounds like something you might be interested in, I hope you will consider sticking around. And I know I start off every video by saying thank you to all of you guys who watched my previous videos. And I've had some of you guys say that I don't need to say thank you, but I feel like I do. Because I know that life can get busy and there is a tremendous amount of YouTube videos out there to be watched. But it does mean so very much to me that so many of you guys stop by and hang out with me and see what it is that I've been working on or the quilts that I've created in the past. It means a lot to me. So thank you so very much. I do greatly appreciate it more than you can possibly know. So thank you. I think I'm going to go ahead and jump in and start talking about what I've been working on over these past 4 weeks. The first is a brand new start. I started this on October 1st with Christine of Hollis Hands Creates, and that is Autumn 1831 by Samplers Not Forgotten. This project has been an absolute blast to work on. I have enjoyed every single second that I get to work on it. I'm also kind of toying with the idea of trying to get it done by Halloween. I'm not sure that's possible, especially with the assignments that I still have not worked on yet. So I definitely need to kind of figure some things out. But here is my progress. So I'm stitching this on a 40 count Fresco by Picture This Plus, and I am using the called for threads, stitching at 1/2. I did make one substitution. The flowers are supposed to be stitched in white, and it would have ghosted quite a bit. And if you look at the chart and the vine, the flowers are not showing up very well. So they're supposed to be very ghosty. And before I kind of put in the first stitch, I was looking at the threads and I was trying to think what I could do to substitute it. And I pulled a couple of purple threads because for some reason purple just kind of jumped out at me. And about that time, Christine sent me a message asking me about the ghosty flowers. And so we got to talking about it and I kind of told her what I was thinking of doing. So something else I was thinking about doing is right next to the pumpkin that you see there is supposed to be a white pumpkin. And I could stitch it, but I don't think it would show up very well. And I was toying with the idea of finding some sort of orangey mustard color that's in between the yellow that you see on this piece and then that orange pumpkin and stitching it in that. So that's something that I need to kind of figure out. And every night I can't wait to get back to it, even if I'm only able to stitch it for 20 minutes, half hour, just being able to work on it at all is just so wonderful. The next project I worked on it for 2 evenings just because I kind of had this wild urge to work on it. I will confess I forgot that I had started it, and it was only when I was going back through my notes of my last 2 videos that I realized that I have not picked this up and worked on it. And that is Jack-o'-lantern Sewing Pocket and Chatelaine by Stacy Nash Primitives. I think originally when I started this one, I also had the idea of finishing it, but I know I won't this year, so it'll just be something that I kind of work on here and there whenever I get time, and then I'll finish it at some point next year. But this is how far I got. So this one was so fun to work on. I like that I don't have to worry about any color changes. It's just one color all the way across, and it just makes the time go a little bit faster when you don't have to switch out to different colors. So I am stitching the jack-o'-lantern sewing pocket and chatelaine on a piece of 36 count Havana by Weeks Dye Works. I am also using the called for charcoal, also by Weeks Dye Works. The next project I worked on was the Houses of Hawthorne Hollow by Carriage Samplings. I'm working on this one, which is block number 6, which is almost completely all filled in. It's going to be fun when it gets done. I think it's going to look really, really great. So I don't remember how much progress I had on this one in my last video, if I had started it or where I was exactly, but I was able to complete the assignment for September, which was to complete a fourth of it, which I did. Basically, the assignment on this one is just to have it done by the end of the year. And hopefully I will be able to do that. But I did enjoy working on this one a lot. It went a lot faster than I thought it was going to, which was really cool. But to work on each assignment, it usually takes me about a week in the evenings. And this one also was sort of, there was a couple of evenings where I worked on this one. And I remember I only got about a half hour or 45 minutes on it. So it took a little bit longer than it typically normally does, but that's okay. I enjoyed working on it. I enjoyed my time on it, and I love seeing any little bit of progress on this project. So I'm stitching the Houses of Hawthorne Hollow on a piece of 40 count Heritage by Picture This Plus, and I am using a variety of DMC threads, stitching at 1/2. And I do really, really, really love this block. I think it's gonna look really cool. I mean, at first I was like, I don't know about this bright yellow house with those teal. I mean, I don't know. I haven't changed out too many of the colors on this one. A lot of the other ones, almost all of the colors are completely changed out or darkened or lightened. And on this one, I just left it all the called for colors just to kind of see, like, you know, it's an evening block, so it's really dark. So, you know, I thought I would just roll with it. And at first I was like, I don't know what to do about these neon colors, but I kind of like it. It's grown on me. And I get it. The house is supposed to be lit up in the night. So yeah, I think it's going to look great. So hopefully I will be able to work on this one this month. We'll have to see. It needs to be worked on, because if I were to float this project into November, it would take me half the month to stitch 2 assignments based on my current stitching schedule. So I don't know, but I love working on it. I think it's going to look awesome when it gets done eventually. But this is one of the assignments that I need to figure out for this month. The next project I worked on was Autumn on Lazy Bear Mountain by Kathy Barrick. I am working down in this area here on the tree, and then I did some of the leaves. Not a tremendous amount of progress. I basically worked on it, I think, for an evening, and when last I showed it, I had the rest of the tree to fill in, and then I started working on the leaves. But I enjoyed working on this one a lot, and I would like to make some time this month to work on it, even if it's for like an hour or two, just to work on it a little bit, because any little bit of progress is better than no progress at all. So I'm stitching Autumn on Lazy Bear Mountain on a piece of 40 count Crypt cloth by Lapin Loops, and I am stitching it with the Vicky Clayton silk conversion and stitching it 1/2. I like it. When I picked up the silks and started stitching with them again, I remember just how much I love working with Vicky Clayton silks. So I definitely need to have some sort of a project going where I'm stitching with silks. But I enjoyed my evening or two with this project. I look forward to getting back to it again at some point. Like I said, even if it's just for an hour or two, just to work on it a little bit. This next project, when I was thinking about how I wanted to talk about this one, I needed to make sure I started off by saying that I'm a stitch along failure. I am supposed to be working on the Hometown Holiday Sampler Stitch Along with the Fat Quarter Shop. So it's a weekly assignment stitch along. It started back the beginning of September, and it's supposed to run through the first or second week in November. I managed to get 3 weeks completely done, and then I hit the 4th week and I ended up needing to go work on my assignments, and I haven't got back to it since. And here's my progress. So I feel really bad. I should have known better than to volunteer to participate in a stitch along. I really don't have a good excuse other than I'm terrible apparently when it comes to stitch alongs. And again, I should know better than to participate in them, but I thought it'd be fun. I figured no problem, it's not a ton of stitching. I should be able to do it. And clearly I couldn't. So this is how far I got. So I am going to continue to work on this one. This is sort of going to be the one that I work on when my other 2 assignments are done for the month. And then, as I have time, I'll pop it in and work on it because I'd like to get it done before Christmas. I don't want it to roll over into the next year. And it is a lot of fun to work on. It does go very fast when I do sit down to work on it. It usually takes me about 2 evenings to do a row. So if I wasn't working on Autumn 1831, I'd have no problem keeping up with everything. But because I really want to work on that one, it makes it hard to keep up on everything. So I am stitching the Hometown Holiday Sampler on a piece of 40 count Affogato by Fiber on a Whim, and I'm using my own color conversion, and I'm stitching at 1/2. Had a lot of you guys reach out to ask for the conversion, so I was able to finally get those emails answered and get that information back to you. But I was so shocked at how many of you guys like the conversion. I'm new. I mean, I know I've converted out a lot of the DMC for the the different hawk run hollows I've worked on, and this is the first time where I totally converted a project to sort of like my own style. And I was really surprised at how many of you guys were interested in that, and so it really made me so happy to be able to share that information. So I hope that you guys, those of you who I did send the conversion, I hope you guys are, enjoying working on it. You'll have to, let me know what you think and send me progress photos because I would love to see that. But thank you so much. It was so very sweet of so many of you guys to be interested in that conversion. And so thank you. And the last project that I worked on was Sarah Stewart Hardman by Needlework Press. I'm stitching this with my friend Yvette, and we're doing this as assignment stitching, very, very easy, slow assignment stitching. So the progress on this one isn't tremendous. I believe the assignment was to stitch the bird and then 1 line of words. And when I went to go, I hope I'm not showing this double. When I went to go look at my notes, I didn't start working on this one until after I had finished my last video. So I might have shown this one, but I either didn't have the bird all the way done or I hadn't even started. And I can't remember. I'm going based on my calendar. My calendar tells me I did not work on the assignment until after I had recorded my last video. So the assignment that I had assigned was the bird that you see in the middle and then 1 line of words. And it took me a couple of days to work on this one, which is really nice. So typically it'll be about a 2-day project whenever I assign an assignment, or a very easy afternoon on a weekend. But I love working on this one, and eventually I will love having her done. So I need to find out if I assigned anything for October. I can't remember if I have talked to her about this one or not. The days just blend together and it's really hard to try to remember what it is that I've said or not said or thought maybe I better say, and then I completely forget. I don't remember, so I need to try to figure that out. But I am stitching Sarah Stewart Hardman on a piece of 36 count Vintage Buttercream by Lakeside Linens, and I am using the called for Classic Colorworks threads that are listed in the chart, and I'm stitching at 1/2. I really like working on this one. Whenever I get her out and I start working on her, it just makes me so happy. So I love this one. And eventually, like I said, I will love having her done as well. The plans for Sarah is to personalize her with my great great grandmother's name. So I probably should start charting that out. For whatever reason, I typically will wait until the last minute, and then that's like the last thing that I do. But I would kind of like to already have her name stitched on this and not wait until the last minute. So we'll have to see. I need to start like charting that out because it needs to fit in this box here, or I need to sort of, I don't know if I need to eliminate the box to make her name big enough, because I like to do her maiden name, so it'd be her first, middle, and her maiden last name, and then date of birth, date of death. So I'll have to see if there's enough room. I don't think that there is, so I'm probably just going to have to eliminate the box altogether and stitch it underneath, and figure maybe I need to figure out something with some other motifs or something. So I just need to get on that. I did do a little fully finishing over the past 4 weeks. These were 2 projects that I showed finished in my last video. And then after I recorded and right around the beginning of the month, I was able to sit down and fully finish them. So this first one is called Bittersweet and Broomsticks by With Thy Needle and Thread. I stitched it on a piece of 40 count sand by Picture This Plus, and I stitched it with a variety of overdyed threads, 1/2. I love how it turned out. So for the finishing, I stuffed it with polyester fiberfill. The fabric came from Civil War reproduction from my stash. The rickrack, I actually had bought this rickrack a couple of years ago. I think what kind of drew me to it was not only the color, so that particular orange color is one of my favorite autumn colors, and I went to this local quilt shop and they had a bunch of it wound onto really cute wooden bobbins, and I bought it. Not really sure, what to do with it other than that I just liked the fact that it was, wrapped on some wooden bobbins. And when I finished this project, I went and got it and it just matched perfectly. So I attached the rickrack by hand, and then I did have some vintage beads in my stash that I used to help tack it down. And I just love how it turned out. I love it. I'm so happy to have this one done this year. I didn't put it in the trench bowl. It's just kind of been hanging out off to the side. After today, I'm going to have to go and refluff it anyway, because I'm going to share some of the finishes out of those. So at that time, I will go ahead and put this one in there. But I love how it turned out. It's so fantastic. And it's kind of like another one that's been on my wish list, or my wish list to stitch. It's kind of nice to be able to cross this one off that list. I love it. I think it turned out so awesome. I love it, love it. My next finish is Jack in a Halloween Cup by La Comtesse. It's kind of hard to, it's kind of tricky, I should say, to find this one. When you just type in Jack in a Cup, La Comtesse blog, it doesn't come up very easily. I will link it down below like I did in the video where I showed this one finish as well. Other than that, I can't really, I know there was a lot of you guys that had trouble finding it. I did the best I could. When I could send a link, I sent a link. But when I couldn't, I just gave as much information as I could about it. It was in her November 2022 blog post. It's just called Jack in a Halloween Cup. I think if you go to her La Comtesse blog, she has a freebie section where you can click on it and do a search that way. For whatever reason, I don't know if it's because, it's sort of an international blog, and so putting in, the keywords isn't bringing it up, but it's really hard to kind of, to find it. But I will put a link down below to this particular one, to the blog post, and that is probably the best I'm going to be able to do. So on this one, I stitched it on a piece of 40 count Cocoa by Weeks Dye Works, and I used a variety of threads that I had pulled from my stash, and I stitched it 1/2. For this one, I used a piece of, and this isn't necessarily Civil War reproduction, it's more like a 50s or 20, 30, 40, 50s reproduction that I had picked up years ago when I was collecting fabrics for Hocus Pocusville. I didn't end up using it, but I have used it in a variety of other projects, and I had a little bit of it left. For the finishing, I used black rickrack that I just hand stitched using DMC 310, and I wanted to kind of give it a sort of framed look. I like it. I like how it turned out. So it's stuffed with polyester fiberfill, if I forgot to mention that. And it was fun. I was able to finish both of these guys the same day. So they were both a lot of fun to work on, and I had a blast. I love finishing the little pillow finishes. It's a lot of fun. I don't know what it is about them, but I enjoy working on them, and putting those little finishing touches on them. I always enjoy that part a lot. So again, I will put a link to the La Comtesse blog post that has Jack in a Halloween cup. I do have some finishes of Halloween past to show and share. The first one was a request by my husband. I know I showed it last year, but when I was talking about doing today's video, and even in my last video, he wanted to know if I was going to show it, and quite honestly, I hadn't decided one way or another, and he brought it out here, so if I don't show it, then he will be very upset. And that is Booby by Hindsight. I think that is how you say it. I stitched this one years ago. He bought it for me as a kit, or well, I had the linen, but he bought the pattern, and then there's like a bead kit that comes with it. And so he purchased that for me because he just liked the name Booby. And so when I finished it, I just put it into a frame, and then I gave it to him. So I usually put it out, in our bedroom or wherever wherever he's gonna be the majority of the time, and then that way he gets to see it. So this is Booby by Hindsight. I stitched it with the called for, I think it was DMC, and then the linen was some that I had dyed myself. I think it was a 32 count that I had tea coffee dyed myself, and then I found this frame at Michael's, and it's not a great frame job, but at the time, this is pretty good. So this is Booby. And it is my husband's, and he always enjoys having it out every year for Halloween. This next one is called Smell My Feet by La Di Da, and I'm afraid I don't really remember too many of the particulars on this one. I used threads from my stash. I think the green was like a Weeks or a Classic Colorworks, I want to say Bullfrog. And then I'm not sure what black overdyed thread I would have used, but the fabric I believe was the called for, and that's about all I remember. What I will do is I will do a little research, try to figure out what it is that I had used, and for all of the projects that I have shown today, I will put the correct information listed down below. So I will do a little investigating and see what it is that I did use. This was a group stitch with a group of friends, and it was a lot of fun. I think we did this one like 2 or 3 years ago, and it was a lot of fun. I really enjoyed working on this with them, and it was so sweet of them to invite me to stitch with them. So that was a lot of fun. And so like the other smalls, this one is stuffed with polyester fiberfill. That's kind of like my to-go-to. And the backing, again, is that sort of like 20, 30, 40s, 50s reproduction fabric. And all I did for like a little extra was I attached a faux safety pin, a faux rusty safety pin, and then a little piece of the backing fabric. But I love how it turned out. It's so cute. And I love getting it out every year. So every year I try to move things around. I try not to put things in the exact same space that they had been in the previous year. So I try to always move things around and try to display them differently. So this year, this one is hanging or is on the shelf out in the other room. And it looks really good because a friend of mine from work gave me an old tin, and the two of them together look really cute, and I love it. So I'll insert a picture of where this is, and but I think it looks really good. I like how it turned out this year, how that area was styled. I think it looks, well, I mean, I like how it turned out. I don't know, like as far as like design wise, it's amazing, but I mean, I like the area, how it turned out this year. My next previous finish is this drum that has been hanging out behind me over my shoulder. I had a lot of you guys ask what the name of it is, and it is the Halloween at Hawk Run Hollow. So I started this one back in 2017, and it was sort of one of those projects that I had abandoned. And I realized a couple of years ago I was never going to finish it. And I had done 2 of the blocks. So I decided to turn it into a drum, and now I get to have it out every year and enjoy it. So out of all of the Hawk Run Hollow series, I think Halloween was kind of my least favorite. And I don't have plans to ever stitch it fully unless I swap out quite a few of the blocks. You know, I like the haunted house. I like, you know, the graveyard with the haunted trees. There are different elements of it that I really like, but there's others that I would have to swap it out if I ever decided to stitch it fully. So anyway, in the meantime, I will get to enjoy the first 2 blocks. I'm not a perfect drum finisher, but I do my best. So at least this way I get to enjoy it and have it out. So I stitched Halloween at Hawk Run Hollow for the first 2 blocks on a piece of 40 count vintage country mocha, and I used the called for DMC threads, and I stitched it 1/2. My next previous finish is called Witch's Night Out by With Thy Needle and Thread. And this one I stitched, I'm pretty sure in 2020, because it was the same year that I worked on one of my quilts that I showed in my last video, and some of the primitive like jack-o'-lanterns that I have around the house. And I feel like I did all of those round about the same time. So in this one, there are a few finishing issues. It's not perfect, but I do really love it. And I'm super happy to have this one done. It was one of the ones that had been on a list of mine of ones to be stitched. And then I just decided I needed something fun to work on. We were having forest fires, and so we were under smoke. We didn't see the sun for like an entire week. It was just a constant orange glow, and it was just very depressing. And so I worked on this one during that time, and I don't really remember the particulars of what I used. I will go back in Instagram and see if possibly I had listed it, but I know I just used threads from my stash, and I just kind of matched them to what the called for was. And I think I stitched on a 36 count linen that I had in my stash. I want to say cream brulee, but I don't know if that's right. But a lot of fun. Brenda Gervais, I love all of her Halloween designs. I could quite happily stitch every single one of them for the rest of my life and be totally happy. She just is like the queen of Halloween when it comes to designing. I just love everything Halloween that she creates. So loads of fun on this one. The backing was Civil War reproduction fabric that came from actually the same quilt that I had finished at that same time. And then the trim I used, it was dyed by Lady Dot Creates, but I don't remember what the name of it was. It was sent to me when I had ordered some charts at that particular time. It was sent to me as like an extra, and I don't remember what the color was. And it might not have even been marked. It might just have said Lady Dot Creates on it, but I don't know that it actually said what the name of the trim is. But I will do a little investigating, and if I can find the information for this, I will definitely list it down below in the description box. My last previous finish is called October 31st by Blackbird Designs. So this one, I kind of went outside the box, and I decided to stitch it on a piece of linen that I had ordered. I think I had ordered it by mistake, or when I ordered it, it was a totally different color than what came. But it is by Fox and Rabbit, and I want to say it's called Winter Wren or something like that. And I just decided, instead of trying to find a new piece of linen, I would just change the colors and stitch it a little bit differently. I do like how it turned out. There's a part of me that kind of wishes that maybe I would have just found something a little bit closer to the called for. But I was trying to step outside of the box, do something a little bit different. I do like it, but there's a part of me that wishes I would have done it a little bit differently. But I do like this. Maybe if I could have this one and then just do a second one. But I loved working on this one. It was one of the ones that when I, and I know I say this a lot, Blackbird, when I first got back into cross stitching, Blackbird design charts were always coming up on Pinterest. And there's a lot of them that I have saved on my Pinterest board to be stitched. And so the fact that I was able to stitch this one was, sort of like a dream come true, because I think it had been out of print, and it might have been reprinted in a magazine. I don't remember. I'll have to do a little investigating on this one too. I wish I would have done that before I did today's video. Today's video is kind of a hot mess. I'm just gonna leave it there. But I will do a little investigating. I know it's a Fox and Rabbit, 36 count. Winter Wren seems very familiar. I did use over dyed threads. I decided to go with black. I stitched the October 31st in orange, and then the moon is done in sort of like a yellowy cream. And again, I think it's like a 36 count. But I do love how it turned out. It's a drum finish. It's not perfect. I used some of the same, so this is the fabric the linen that I used on the back. And then around here is some Civil War reproduction that I picked up from my local quilt shop. But I do love how it turned out. I do. I don't want you guys to think I don't. It's just, there are some times when you stitch something and you finish it and then you think about it a little bit, you kind of wish maybe you had done it a little bit differently. But I do like how it turned out. It turned out the way that I wanted it to. But this is the last finish that I will have to show and share in today's video. I do have autumn, ones that are more like Thanksgiving autumn that I'll show in my next video. But as far as the Halloween goes, those are the ones that I kind of pulled to show in today's video. So for everything that I've shown cross-stitching wise, I will make sure to list it down below in the description box. I did do a little bit of retail therapy, and from my friend Christine, Hollis Hands Creates, I purchased spring at Hollyberry Farms. So I previously finished Halloween and most recently Christmas at Hollyberry Farms. I think I might have talked about this one in my last video, but I wanted to start spring and try to get it done before spring this coming year. And I'm looking forward to starting it. I've been toying with the idea of starting it on my birthday, just to, get it started, and then in the first of the year, work on it and try to get it finished. I also had Christine recommend a piece of linen that she thought would work perfectly, and so she recommended Burnt Sand by, I'm pretty sure I'm going to mispronounce it, but I think it's called Manidonna. I'm pretty sure I mispronounced that, but it's a beautiful piece of linen. I'm very excited to stitch on it. I don't think I have stitched on any linen by this particular dyer, so I'm really excited to try it out. And then I also purchased all but one of the called for threads. I still need to get walnut, but I was able to get the majority of the threads from Christine. And they're beautiful. Definitely right up my alley, very springtime prim. I love it. So I can't wait to start working on that. I think the only change I'm gonna do is to this big giant cat. I think I'm gonna find something else to put there. But other than that, I'm really excited to get started on this one and try out that linen. From 123 Stitch, I picked up a bowl full of Scaries. This is Scary 2 by Plum Street Sampler. So I've been seeing a lot of stitchers work on this on Instagram and Facebook, and it's been on my wish list for a while, and I decided to go ahead and get it. I would also like to get Scary 1, which is more Halloween related. So I'm hoping maybe next year I can get that one and get it stitched up before Halloween next year. But this one I would like, if it's possible, I would like to try to get this one finished before Thanksgiving. So I typically decorate for Halloween, Thanksgiving, and then Christmas. For this one, I had a piece of 36 count grandma slip in my stash that I will be using. And then I did go ahead and pick up all of the called for threads from 123 Stitch. So I love them. They're all my favorite autumn colors. So I can't wait to start working on that. And because things cannot travel by themselves, I also picked up a bowl full of Marys. This is Mary 1 by Plum Street Sampler. So this one is also one that has been on my too long I want to stitch list. And I finally decided that this is the year that I need to get this one stitched in time for Christmas. So I will be working on this one November, December. Basically, I just want to try to get this one done before Christmas this year. But I love it. It's so cute, and I can't wait to start working on it. I went into my stash, and I hope this one's going to work out. But I pulled a piece of 36 count Oaken. So I'm hoping that the colors will work. I think they will. I kind of did sort of like a, like a floss toss. And I think everything will play okay with this piece of Oaken. Because to me, it does kind of look like a cold winter's day. So we'll see. So working on Scary 2 and Mary 1 are part of my autumn plans, because December, even though more typically, we think of December being winter, most of December is still in autumn. So I'm hoping that I can work on Scary 2 and Mary 1 this autumn. And because neither one of those could write alone, I got the DMC threads for Thomas by Not Forgotten Farms. So this project has been on my want to stitch list every year for at least the past 5 years. And every year I get it out and I pull linen for it, and I start to pull the DMC for it, and then I run out of time. And this year I am determined that I will work on Thomas and finish him this year. I want to have him done and hanging up for Thanksgiving this year, but we will see. I feel like in my mind I have weeks and weeks and weeks, but there's really only a month and a couple weeks to Thanksgiving. So I definitely have my work cut out for me. He's not too terribly big, so I feel like it's doable. There's just, he's got a lot of fill-in on his body, but I would really like to give this one a go this year and try to get it done for Thanksgiving. I went into my stash and I pulled a piece of 36 count parchment, and it's the right size. I also use this one for Folksy Thomas, so this is the cutoff piece, and it's just the right amount that I would need to stitch Thomas. And then of course I picked up all of the DMC. So I'm gonna try my best. It would be nice to get all 3 smalls done in time for each holiday. I don't know if that's doable, because again, it's not like there's months and months and months to Thanksgiving or months and months and months to Christmas, but it'd be nice to try to get them done. And I think a goal for myself next year is to definitely stitch more smalls. The goal this year was to stitch more Christmas, which I feel like I've done, but I've neglected working on smalls. So I think that is going to be my 2025 goal, is to work on more smalls for displaying around my house. So we'll have to see, but I'm going to give it a go and see if I can make any progress on any of these 3. Fingers crossed. Okay, I did receive a package from the Fat Quarter Shop of items that are available now on their website, and I will put a link to the Fat Quarter Shop down below. The first item is a cross stitch pattern called September Sunflowers by It's So Emma, and it's shelf life number 9 of 12. Very cute. and a charm by It's So Charming Dresden Enamel Charm. And so this one you could hang off a project bag, off a quilty bag, off of your coat or your tote bag, or even your purse. So that is very fun. And a quilt book by Sherry McConnell and Chelsea Stratton called Family Favorites. Very fun. So I flipped through this when I first got it, and there are a lot of fun quilts to do. Like this one is a really neat, bright sampler quilt. Just a very, very fun quilt. The Fat Quarter Shop also sent me the Stitch Quarterly Club subscription for autumn, and each Stitch Quarterly design comes with its own project bag that has been designed for it. You get the pattern, which is called Pumpkin Pals, which is really, really cute. You get the called for Ada. It also comes with all of the threads and a needle. And then they usually will put a little something extra notion. And this time it is a hedgehog needle minder and scissors. So the scissors come in this nice little package, and this is what they look like. Very cool. Very, very cool. So if you are interested in joining the Stitch Quarterly subscription, it does come out 4 times a year. It's generally seasonally related. I will put a link to the link right to the Stitch Quarterly subscription sign up if you are interested. Thank you so very much to the Fat Quarter Shop for sending all of these items my way. And again, I will put a link to the Fat Quarter Shop's website down below. I did receive a wonderful package from my friend Megan, and she sent me this adorable card. And I think she said her mom and her had been out thrifting and they came across this cross stitch piece. And she asked if I would be interested in it. And I totally love it. I don't know what it is about it. I said yes. I don't know what it is about it. I don't know if it's because it's like save the stitches type of thing, but I really like this one. And I think that I am going to frame it. I'm going to find the perfect frame for it. But I think I'm going to, so I don't have a sewing room. I know someday I will, but I think this one would be perfect to go into my future sewing room. Anyway, I don't know what it is about this piece. I just adore it. I think it's awesome. And whoever it was who stitched it took a lot of time to work on it. And it definitely needed to be saved. So she asked if I'd be interested in it. I said yes, and it was so sweet of her to think of me. And then she also sent me a package of floss drops. So these are for your DMC threads, and I'm really, really curious about them. I've seen other stitchers use them, and I've heard other stitchers talk about them, but I've never really, like looked into it. I've just kind of seen it, but I've always been really curious about it, and she loves them. So she sent me some to try out. So I'm really looking forward to kitting up Thomas because he is all in DMC. And what you do is you hang your DMC thread here. This slot is for the pieces that you've used. You just need to, tie them on somewhere. And then this middle part right here is for the number, the DMC number. And you just kind of slide that little label right on here. So I can't wait to try these. I have a feeling I'm gonna really, really like them because right now what I use is a tag. So I have my DMC wrapped around bobbins, and then the ones that go into projects, I have cardboard tags that I just punch a hole in them and then I write what they are. But those I'm very, very curious about. I have a feeling I'm really gonna like them. So thank you so very much to Megan for sending those items to me. She also very kindly sent me the fabric to finish my, to put on the binding on my costume maker's ball quilt. So I'm really excited to finally get that one finished. If you've watched my quilting video, you know which one I'm talking about. But thank you so very much to Megan for thinking of me. It was so very sweet of you. Well, my friends, I think that brings me to the end of the video. I've been at it for 2 hours and I swear I've deleted more clips than I've actually kept. So I hope today's video is going to be okay. But if you've stuck around for this length of time, thank you so very much. I do so very greatly appreciate you. The plan for me will be to be back in November. I think it's about middle of November that I'll be back. So I hope that you'll come back and see what I have been working on. Everything will be changed out behind me to Thanksgiving/autumn. So this is the last you'll see of Hocus Pocusville until next year. Hope you guys have a wonderful and happy Halloween. I can't believe it's almost here. It's so crazy. I feel like I just decorated my house not that long ago and it was September, and now we're already halfway through October. It goes by so fast. And it goes by even faster when you only put out these videos every 4 to 5 weeks. So I can't believe it is almost here. The plan, like I said, will be back in November. So I'm very curious what I will manage to get done between now and then. I know that I feel like now that I have the 3 smallest projects sitting in front of me, I feel like I might have bit off more than I can chew, especially since I'm still working on Autumn 1831. But I do really want to try to get as much done as I possibly can, because I feel like I kind of sometimes get bogged down in the larger projects and I forget that I need to work on smaller ones too. So I would like to try my very best to work on those and, try to get them done this year. If it doesn't happen, it definitely will next year, but I want to try my best. But if you've stuck around for this length of time, thank you so very much. If you'd like to see what I'm up to in between my videos, you can follow me on Instagram. I'm Pumpkin Hollow Quilts, and I do have a Facebook page called Pumpkin Hollow Quilting, and I will put a link to both of those pages or places down below in the description box, as well as everything I have shown and shared in today's video. Thank you so very much for hanging out with me today, and I will see you all again next time. Bye.